I'm gonna be upfront and honest. I was not the biggest Russ fan a little while back. It was more of me being an idiot that was misinformed than anything he actually did. This man is over 25 times platinum and is one of the most self-sufficient artists and people I have ever seen. We're gonna get in today, how did Russ crack the code?
Hit that smash button. Hit that smash button and like it. Subscribe. It's awesome.
What's up, everybody? Garrett from trakksounds here, multi-time Billboard charting music producer and music marketing expert, here to give you some game on how did Russ crack the code. He's one of the biggest definitions of consistency I've ever seen, but I do have a question of the day. What's your favorite Russ song? Let me know in the comments below. I just got hip to a lot of his music a little while back, so I'm really starting to catch up on his catalog. He has an insane catalog. Let me know in the comments below, what's your favorite Russ song? Yeah, don't mind the new fancy studio, little construction going on, but we're in this thing about to crack some code. So how did he do it? How did he crack the code? This man got more hate on the internet than anybody that was not named Drake than anyone I've ever seen before. And he was one of the most self-sufficient at the same time. Let's talk about some key points. One of Russ's big true keys to being able to be as successful as he has been is his consistency and his mentality. We're gonna check out one of his interviews with Steve Stout to see how many projects he dropped before he even hit 1,000 followers.
You know, I was able to put out, let's call it 3 mixtapes a year, you know, which is roughly around 40 to 50 songs a year. In a short period of time. So from 2011, December 2011, so basically fucking 2012 to the end of 2014, I put out 11 projects. And, you know, when I say none of them worked, I mean that none of them made me blow up. None of them, I didn't drop any of them and get like followers or anything. At the end of that 11th project, I had 1,000 followers on Twitter. So
that's wild to even think about. Think about the self-belief and the consistency you have to have. Who dropped 11 projects and then you still only have 1,000 followers. This is when a smart man will realize that they may have the talent, but there's some things that they need to change up. And this is what he talks about in a different interview with Gary Vee about how he figured out to change his content to even push it way further.
From going from like 0 followers on social media to getting to like 900, 6,000 and over. If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, it was literally put out as much shit as possible at a high level, like quality and quantity. They always said, oh, you have to pick quality over quantity. I was like, why can't you just do both? Why can't you have high quality and high quantity? And that's kind of what broke the fucking system. That's what did it, is that, you know, the first song I put out didn't get 1 million plays in the first day. The second song didn't either. The 50th one didn't either, but on the 98th one, it did. You know what I'm saying?
Was it actually 98 or are you just kind of spitballing numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's 98, 99, some shit like that. But content is key. Just put out a shit ton of shit. It just has to be good.
This is not a sprint. This is a marathon with music. If you want to be a one-hit viral wonder, you can run with that if you want, but you also will go away as quick as you came. That's what she said. So if you want to be consistent and really build up your fan base over time, you have to pump out consistent, high quality content. It is just one of the biggest keys. We're gonna go back to his Steve Stout interview where basically some of it is the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and thinking you're gonna get a different result.
Then I was like, all right, hold on, let me take a look at the industry. And I noticed people on SoundCloud putting up their albums on there. And I noticed that the plays would be the highest at song 1, and then they would decrease as the shit went down unless there was a big feature. And so I was like, this is interesting. I was like, all this tells me is that everyone is down to listen to one song. It's getting to that second song that pisses people off. And it's like, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Instead of dropping 3 mixtapes a year, let's call it, instead of dropping 52 songs total a year over the course of 3 mixtapes, and really that all that means is 3 posts a year. Here's 1 post of an album, here's another one, here's another one. I was like, why don't I drop the same amount of music, but just differently? And why don't I drop 1 song albums every week? Because I know off of just studying the analytics of the game. Another
super valid point that I just tremendously love. I try to preach this all the time. You drop 1 big album through the year, people are gonna, and that's all you have for most, people are gonna get so tired of that album so quickly. If you break that same album up into very small EPs or singles, people are gonna, the smoke and mirrors effect, people are gonna think you were working so hard, dropping so many projects, you hit them with so much new content. People want fresh new content. He also did a really good Forbes interview where he talks about the self-belief and the mentality, which is, I feel like consistency and mentality go hand in hand because music is a tough industry and it definitely requires a lot of thick skin and you're gonna hear no, and there's gonna be a lot of failures. Though one of the few ways to break through this is to really have self-belief and really strong mindset. This will help you push to consistency.
That you can either go through life and go through this whole journey kind of being like, oh, well, like, I'm not that good. Or you can simply choose to be like, I'm fucking amazing. And a part of it is like, you need to hype yourself up. You gotta like, people don't understand that in order to even get to this point where we're sitting here or whatever, there had to be a certain level of mental, like, I have to psych myself up and turn myself into a self-belief monster. Otherwise, you're not gonna have enough oomph to even make it through.
Where do you think that comes from for you?
I think it's me wanting to prove it to myself, number one, that I am good enough, and then naturally prove it to other people.
You always got to remember why you do it. That's one of the best ways that you can even stay grounded. The beauty is in the journey, not in the destination, I promise. Another big key for Russ was staying independent and making sure he had leverage before he even dealt with the labels. He did sign a partnership with Columbia Records, which we're gonna look at an interview about why he actually did that. But as you can see, he dropped over 11 projects and then backdoored it with song after song after song for over 3 years on his own until he had a true fan base. He had a few shows under his belt. He had a good steady bit of income so he could prove when he went into the labels that he was ready to be a partner with them and not basically one that works for them.
I partnered because I had leverage. I got the exact deal that I wanted. I think that's super important for artists to understand that, you know, go in there with leverage so you can dictate. You know, I went in and got a profit split. Artists just be jumping at like, yo, he said he's got 300K for me. It's like, bro, like, there's so, like, the advance is the least important part of the deal, you feel me? But labels know what they're doing. They know that if they hang fucking $500,000 in front of a lot of these kids' faces, they're jumping at that. And they're like, I don't give a fuck about what else the deal is. But it's like, yo, really? Because now they're touching your merch and they're touching your touring and like, you know, you might be in a 360 before you even realize it.
And there's another big point. A lot of people see that first advancement number and they don't realize how long they're gonna actually have to be able to let the label recoup that. There may be 3 to 5 albums they're having to do. There may be a whole bunch of things that they're not realizing just from getting some upfront advance money. Don't always go for the medium-sized bag and sacrifice the big bag is basically what he is saying with this. He talked about it even a little more in the other Forbes interview.
You know, I'm super proud of that. And back to the Colombian thing, I encourage every independent artist to build up a real organic fan base. The reason why I was able to walk into Colombia and say, give me $2 million, give me a 50-50 profit split, and let me keep my entire TuneCore catalog where you can't touch it, is because without y'all, I was 50 on the iTunes. I was 50 on the iTunes charts. Kylie Jenner randomly was playing my songs. I'm selling out tours. Like, you build up leverage. You know what I'm saying? So it was super important for me to do that. Because without that, I don't get.
As you can see, being able to go into these labels and play hardball with them the same way they're gonna play hardball with you is a big key to being able to get the deal you want. Do not sign too early if you are really interested in being with a label. A lot of artists that I talk to love the independent route, especially really successful ones, but I do see the value in trying to get to a label. It's something you should not worry about unless you have the leverage though, so keep grinding and figure out your path. Russ is also known to be one of the most self-sufficient artists ever. He records his own stuff, produces his own stuff, mixes his own stuff, writes his own stuff. It honestly is insane. And I'm not saying that that's something that you have to do every single one of those things on, but it needs to be very inspiring and I have a really good point to go forward for artists. Let's check out this interview where he talks about it.
But we ended up just being like, nah, we want to just do the shit ourselves. So I figured out everything by myself and it saved me a lot of money. It saved me a lot of time. Like the reason why I was able to crank out so much music is because it was so self-sufficient. It's like, I didn't have to wait to go book a studio. I didn't have to wait to go get a beat from somebody. I didn't have to wait to get someone to engineer to mix it. You know, all that shit takes up time. You could go through fucking 80 beats. And by the time you're even maybe on the 79th beat that you're listening to that you're finally inspired by, you're fucking gassed creatively. You're like, I'm fucking tired.
So, I mean, it's pretty obvious what we mean by self-sufficient and him learning as many things as he can. But my big point for musicians or anybody alike is try to find at least one other skill in music that you can. Even if you pick up graphic design or you pick up beats or you learn how to record yourself, All of these things will generally knock down the cost of being an artist. It is not cheap being an artist. And if you can take away any of those costs and be self-sufficient, as Russ is talking about, to be able to work when you want, especially figure out what your biggest hassle is and try to learn that skill so that way you don't have to rely on anybody else. Yeah, it's gonna take time. Yeah, it's gonna take dedication. But the beauty about that as well is if you get to a good enough point with that skill, you can eventually charge people to help with that skill as well. And then you at least have an income where it is based off of music and you can network and use that to your best ability. One of the greatest ways I've ever advanced in music is just being able to record. I'm a producer at first, but being able to have a studio and record for 10 plus years now, I've been able to meet so many artists and get beats to them, and I got a lot of placements just because of that. I really just wanted to make this quick deep dive about Russ because I think it's a tremendous story for artists to study and to get inspiration from. Shout out to Russ for making me a believer over the years just from his consistent grind. Let me know in the comments what y'all thought of this, if there's another artist that you want me to do a deep dive into. And until then, I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Smash the like button, please. Like this channel. Garrett is awesome, and he loves Big Ed, and Big Ed loves Garrett, okay? So without further ado, hit that smash button, and like it. Subscribe, it's awesome.